Welcome to my latest 2023 NFL preview video. Today I am breaking down the Washington Commanders. Here's how my previews work. I start off with 3 things I like about the Commanders, followed by 3 things I don't like. Then we go over the schedule, the yearly win total odds, and at the end I reveal if I am putting action down on the Commanders. Let's kick this off with the first thing I like about the Washington Commanders. First thing I like about the Commanders is their defensive line. They have a pair of Pro Bowl defensive tackles in Montez Sweat that combined for 27 sacks between the 3 of them. But the best player on this defensive line might be Chase Young, who barely played last season. This defense was 7th in points allowed, 3rd in yards, and no team gave up fewer first downs. The strength of this defense is this talented young defensive line with Chase Young that should be much better in 2023. The second thing I like about the Washington Commanders is new offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. The last 3 years, the Washington Commanders offenses have been 25th, 23rd, and 24th in points scored. The Chiefs the last 3 seasons have been 6th, 4th, and last year number 1. With the before mentioned defensive line, this offense doesn't need to be in the top 5, but they must be better than the bottom quarter of the league, which they have been. The final thing I like about the Commanders is their 1-2 punch at running back. Robinson was shot twice before the season started, but still played in 12 games and started 9. Washington's leading rusher with 797 yards. Gibson was a wide receiver at Memphis, but was switched to running back immediately he was drafted. In 2021, he ran for over 1,000 yards and last season was 3rd on the team in receptions. Early reports are that Gibson will still be a running back, but we used more as a wide receiver this season. No matter what, this duo who produced over 1,700 total yards for the Commanders last season will be much improved this year. To recap the 3 things I like about the Commanders, I like the defensive line. Eric Bieniemy is a new offensive coordinator and a running back duo. Before I go over the 3 things I don't like, here's a reminder to smash that like button. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Join the growing community of football junkies of all 32 fan bases. Now, 3 things I don't like about the Washington Commanders. The first thing I don't like is new ownership. The only other NFL team with a head coach general manager combo is New England with Bill Belichick. It's highly unlikely that the new ownership group is going to keep this format unless things go extremely well this season. Riviera will probably lose the general manager title and very possibly the head coach title. When new ownership takes over, usually they want at least a new general manager, if not both a new general manager and head coach. The second thing I don't like is Washington plays in the very tough NFC East. 3 teams from the NFC East made the playoffs last year. Washington was the exception. With new ownership comes high expectations and low job security. I personally was very impressed with the 8-1 record they produced last season, but if Washington finishes dead last in the NFC East again, Riviera plus multiple coaches and players will not be back in 2024. The final thing I don't like about the Washington Commanders is Sam Howell. Now, just to be clear, I am a huge Sam Howell fan and thought when Washington stole him in the 5th round, it was maybe the steal of the draft. However, you're entering a season with playoffs or multiple people get fired type pressure and your starting quarterback has only played in 1 NFL game. If Washington had the luxury of grooming Howell this year, or if Washington didn't play in the brutal NFC East, I would consider Howell as a possible upgrade at the quarterback position and a positive. But with these circumstances of playing it with new ownership and into playing in the brutal NFC East, having an inexperienced quarterback is not something that's a positive going into 2023. Just to recap the 3 things I don't like: the new ownership, which will cause instability, the brutal NFC East, and the inexperienced Sam Howell. Now let's look at the Commander's schedule and go over the yearly win total odds. As I am making this video, the yearly win total odds are listed at 6.5 wins. Depending on the site you use, the numbers will vary, but as I am making this video, DraftKings has over 6.5 wins at even money. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, or if you're new to sports betting, check out the link listed above here for my tutorial video. When you look at Washington's schedule, it is a tough one. I do like that 3 out of the first 5 games are at home, with the home opener against Arizona a definite winnable game. After that, 4 out of the next 5 games are on the road, with the lone home game against against Philly. Yes, the NFC Super Bowl representative from 2022 Philadelphia Eagles. Now after that, 2 out of the next 3 games are at home before a late Week 14 bye. Normally, I am for a late bye, but for Washington, it could be a disadvantage. If Washington has a losing record going into the bye, I'm going to bet Rivera's fired that week. If Washington has a winning record, the late rest could be a massive advantage as Washington could be in the playoff hunt. In my opinion, the key is can you get the 7 wins before the Week 14 bye? 6 of those games are at home, and I'm thinking you gotta win about 4 of those at least. The remaining 7 games are on the road, and I'm thinking you gotta be at least 3 and 4 on the road before the bye. Now last year Washington did have a 4-3-1 record on the road, and if they duplicate that, they will have a winning record going into the bye and a legitimate chance at the playoffs, but that's not going to be easy because out of those 7 road games, only New England, Atlanta, and Denver are teams that didn't make the playoffs from last year. My biggest question is, can a new offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, get the offense dialed in fast enough, because they will have one of the best defenses in the league. On paper, this is better than the 8-1 team from last year, but the new owners might want to move on sooner than later. If this team stays intact, I think they'll be very dangerous in 2024, but who knows if that will happen. For 2023, I really like over 6.5 wins, and Washington is my sleeper NFC team. If you believe in Bieniemy and how, like I do, you bet the over. That's a no-brainer. And while me personally, I'm passing on putting action down, I do recommend that you don't bet the under. Teams with good defenses are always tough to beat. Tomorrow, I break down the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I'll be seeing you tomorrow.